All right, Hegan Kogan, we are in A10 and we're still talking about the Great Depression. I think with this time period, as tough as these pictures are to look at when you're talking about the Dust Bowl, I don't even think it does it justice.
Nope, it does not.
Because it was much worse than what you see.
The Dust Bowl is like adding insult to injury.
Yeah. Yes.
Because you've got the farmers who were already depressed.
Yes.
Before 1929.
Yep.
And then you're like, all right, now we're going to hit the rest of the country, which only hurt the farmers that much more. Then it's like, all right, now we're literally going to take the soil away from you.
This is the universe kicking you while you're down, pretty much.
I mean, it's like, yeah.
So, we go to the map. Geographically, this is always important, and we can kind of like touch upon some things we talked about earlier in the year, because this is the region of the United States we're going to be talking about. The same region where the government was encouraging farmers to go out there. That same region
giving away free land under the Homestead Act.
Homestead Act. Oklahoma land rush. And again, when we were talking about settling in this area and farming, during that time period, it wasn't exactly easy.
No.
You had to be rugged, and you had to be a rugged, tough farmer, pretty much, when it came to surviving there and starting your family and just pretty much starting from scratch there. So this is the region. It's never been easy for the farmer in this region. It's never easy for farming life in general. They work hard.
Because this is the same region when you got there, like your wooden plow couldn't cut through the sod.
Right.
And then you had, it's some of the most fertile soil on earth, 6 feet of topsoil.
Right.
But you just had to, through the sweat of thy brow, be able to get to it.
And, those earlier people who went there, there's a certain toughness that I'm sure that was passed on from one generation to the next, because you went west with whatever you had, and there was no turning back. These people were stuck. You're bringing up the wagons, and we looked at old structures where they were using parts of their wagons to kind of like build their homes. So
you and I keep bringing up the fact that we are grandchildren of the Great Depression.
Right.
Our grandparents lived through it.
Yep.
Well, they passed that toughness on to our parents, who certainly passed that on to us.
Right.
We didn't grow up with soft parents.
No.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You got a 75 on a test.
It's okay.
No, that was not okay.
You'll still get you could be on the, you'll still get a certificate or an award. So when we're looking here, we're going to be looking at how the Depression is going to impact the farmers, and it's going to be much, much different because pretty much their environment is just going to turn on them. I guess we can look here. When we're looking at that environment, when we're looking at the Great Plains, and of course this map just kind of zeroes in, you're talking about severe drought is going to factor into this, which is going to be really hot weather.
Record high temperature. It was like 108 degrees.
Yes.
In Kansas for like 7 straight days. Go back to the other map for a second.
Yeah.
And like what we're going to talk about, we felt it here in New York. My grandfather talked about a dust storm in New York.
That's the part I was like, wow.
Blocked out the sun. Like, that's like biblical stuff right there.
That's why when I'm bringing up the photos don't do it justice. The stories of this dust, because what winds up happening is that with this drought, it's going to cause, I guess you could say, tornadoes, and you have all of these.
Couple that with El Nino winds.
Right, and exactly. And the winds were literally taking dust from here, and yes, bringing them here to New York.
And then the friction of the dust in the air was creating static.
Yeah.
And then lifting more dust from the, like, everyone knows static, it like sticks to our clothes, and like that was lifting more dust into the storm. Like,
and as a student, you're reading it. As a teacher, you're reading it. And you're like, it couldn't have been that bad. No. You're thinking maybe like scattered flurry sand. If you want to make that comparison, it was literally black. And then you see the actual footage of it, and you're like, okay, no, they weren't kidding. But when we're looking here, this is what it looks like. Again, when you're looking at, all right, there's different ways to look at some of these photos.
To me, it almost looks like this is a beach house.
Yeah.
That's sand, not topsoil.
The fact that it's not a color photo just adds to the depression on this, and not just the economic depression, the feeling of it. This is one that always catches people's eye. A very famous photograph by Dorothea Lange, who was, the photographer was hired under a New Deal program to go out and take pictures of what Great Depression life looked like. And this one comes up quite a bit. It's one of these famous photos.
You know, her and her 3 children. You know, there's a baby in her arms.
Yep, everybody misses this one right here.
Yeah, the baby in her arms, and you know, just the pain in the eyes.
Yeah.
You know, the kids, you know, burying their face in the mom. Maybe there's a dust storm coming. You know, who knows?
And this woman was 32, I think, when this was taken.
Looks like she's 55.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, does not look like a young 32-year-old.
Right. And when you look in here, you can kind of see certain things that are associated with poverty. You know, the tattered clothing right here.
The dirty hands.
Yep.
You know, raggedy hair.
Yep. Hair that was probably cut by her.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, still looks like somebody did a good job because you can't really afford to go to a barber at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's one of the things that always comes up is that when you're looking at somebody who's staring out like this with the 3 kids, it's like, hey, penny for your thoughts.
She actually has 4. There's
What
other
do you
pictures
think?
with her with the 4th kid around.
And I think I have it
Yeah.
in here too. I mean, so you know, here you have a woman who is, you know, what am I going to do? I have 3
How am I going to
kids.
feed my kids?
How am I going to feed the kids? I can barely clothe myself. You know, so you know, poverty's certainly an issue. So what's going to be the issue here? You know, just your basic needs: food, shelter, water, survival.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, and the color one. You know, you see, it's like when you're looking at these photos, the whole black and white really just adds another level of like feeling of depression here. But here's just another photo of her.
Empty plate.
Yes.
You know, maybe
Right in the foreground.
Maybe looking out on the husband trying to do something.
Right. You know, where is the father? Because there's quite a few pictures here
Get
where
water, whatever it might be.
maybe went out to California to try and get a job, whatever the case. And if you look here, you know, this is your shelter.
Living in some sort of tent.
Yep.
Probably foreclosed on their home, couldn't pay their mortgage, lost their home. Living in a tent.
Every question that you come up with when you're looking at this, the answers that you're envisioning, because when you're looking at these photos, you know, you go, okay, why are they living like this? Where is the father? Why are the clothing ripped? And of course, as your mind is generating these questions, you know, the answers are also coming as well. And none of these answers
are easy.
Or
fun.
they're gonna go to the movies, they're
Yeah.
gonna go to Chuck E. Cheese or wherever, you know. None of these answers are pleasant. And again, you have another family too.
You know, barefoot,
dirty.
no clothes, dirty, living in a shack. You could tell there's no crops growing.
Probably cloth diapers.
Probably.
Yeah, without a doubt. The cloth diapers, you know, you can reuse those. Not very common. Yeah, I know, right? You could have to wash them. Whew.
So this
This is a good one.
This house, the dust storm and the continual dust storm built up against their house like a snowdrift after a snowstorm, and they had to dig out from the dust, not the snow.
Yeah, it's kind of grainy here, but yeah, you have a door right here, and you have 4 people.
You know, these are those storms.
These
would
storms.
block out the sun.
And travel across states.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if you're paying attention to the news right now. There's that volcanic eruption going on, and there's ash like 20,000 feet in the sky.
Yeah.
That was this. Because it was dust, not ash.
Now, with this dust bowl, you know, many of the states in the West was suffering a severe drought. And what's causing all this topsoil to dry out is you have the high winds, the years of overgrazing, probably the lack of the crop rotation, where you give a piece of your land like 1 year to chill out, regenerate, become much more of a fertile soil, if you will. These dust storms, as you saw, buried farmhouses, fences. You know, again, we talked about the years of overgrazing, the cattle, the plowing. This is really, you know, a lot of this was brought on themselves as well because of, you don't know if they knew or didn't know here at this time, but the drought.
Agricultural engineering.
Yeah, but again, when you're looking at just the devastation, and of course, you know, when you're in this situation now, you know, you have to move, and people, you know, when they look at these conditions and they go, well, okay, well, things are not going well for you. Why don't you just pick up and move? Easier said than done.
Where are you going to go?
There is that.
There's unemployment everywhere. Where are you going to find a job?
Right.
Most of the people like packed their bags and went off to California.
Right.
You know, John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath.
Right.
You know, it just...
There's a pride thing in here as well. You know, we start by talking, you know, about the early settlers that came out there. Now, of course, those people handed down their farms to the next generation, the next generation, the next. And the thing is there's that I'm not going to leave because somebody in my family years ago came out here, took a chance, and I don't want to give it up. it's easier said than done. Again, to leave. It's just like, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm going to defend my way of life, my property. I mean, this is like, you know, you're surviving. But it is really tough. But yeah, again, what you do bring up is that people did eventually, you know, you had to call it quits and have to go out somewhere else, and a lot of them wind up going to California as well.
Kids dying from what was called dust pneumonia.
Oh gosh.
Livestock dropping dead, and when they cut them open, their stomachs were
Full of sand, yeah.
of dirt.
Oh my god.
Just it's awful.
Whew.
I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for watching, I guess.